This is Jenna Pecor, host of the Faces of Grand Prairie podcast. I'm here with Carson Kidd. Hi, Carson. How are you?
Good. How are you doing, Jenna?
Doing well, doing well. I was introduced to you, I don't know, it's been a few weeks now, by Albert over at Betos, and he was kind of telling me a little bit about you. And you guys own a company called Moravian Coffee, and he was like, you really need to talk to these guys. And so I reached out on Facebook, and I'm glad that I have met y'all. Y'all sound like y'all are really interesting, and I'm really curious about hearing about your story.
Yeah. I'm glad you reached out to us too, because, you know, we're new here to Grand Prairie, or fairly new. And hearing that you have like a podcast for the city specifically, that's awesome. And that's exactly like the type of things we're looking to, you know, get our name in.
Yeah, I had to train a couple people how to use a podcast. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, I bet.
I listen to them constantly, but when I started doing it, I was like, people were like, what's a podcast? I was like, seriously, we need to really. So I actually was like, okay, this is a podcast, this is where you find it. But then I also do it on YouTube as well. So we'll have this on both, because I realized that some people still like to do that. And thankfully, all this has allowed me to use Zoom a lot more. So now people can see your face as opposed to just hearing your voice.
No, yeah, that's great. That's awesome.
So tell me just a little bit about you and about, you know, kind of what you guys are doing and your story.
Yeah, totally. So there's three of us that are Moravian Coffee that started the company. There's me, there's Joel, and Trent. So all of us actually all grew up together in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. So I've known Joel since like third grade, and I've known Trent since I think our freshman year of high school. And so we all kind of were friends growing up. And then we all actually ended up going to Oklahoma University together. And that's where the idea of Moravian kind of started, was probably about my and Trent's junior year of college, because Joel's a couple years older than us. We all kind of started to realize that we could, you know, get our degrees, go our separate ways, you know, get 9-to-5 desk jobs, and, you know, maybe never see each other ever again. And we were, you know, the more we started talking and realizing that's not really the direction we wanted to go with life. And we were more concerned with like our relationships with each other and our, you know, the rest of the people in our friend group than, you know, just having like a steady job right out of the gate. So that's kind of where the idea of like starting a company together was kind of birthed. And all these conversations, you know, we were having them over cups of coffee, and we were all really getting into coffee at the time, and like the intricacies of it, and, you know, how deep and complex it goes. And so we were like, you know what's more relational than coffee? Like, what industry is more relational than coffee? Everyone goes to coffee shops to meet with people, or, you know, have different types of meetings. So we landed on coffee, and that's kind of where Moravian was birthed out of.
Wow. So when did you guys all graduate from college and everything?
So me and Trent graduated on actually like a year ago. So last May we graduated. I graduated with a computer science degree, and Trent graduated with petroleum engineering, which, you know, is funny because it's like we have two engineers starting a coffee company. And then a year before us, Joel graduated with a graphic design degree.
Wow.
So
that's
yeah,
crazy.
we kind of cover all the bases.
Well, I think that's awesome though. And I have a feeling that's coming a lot more handy than people might think it has to have those degrees.
It's kind of blown our minds, like, as we, you know, learn more in the business and coffee specifically. Like, obviously Joel with graphic design is super amazing because he's able to like design everything we need, and we don't have to like outsource for any of that. But then like Trent and I's degrees is a little less like obvious how it might come in handy, but it has actually came a lot in handy. And specifically Trent, who like was dealing with oil and like digging in the ground and stuff, we're learning like the same equations and stuff that he was using with that actually work with coffee too, because it's just like a liquid going through a solid. Like through like dirt or coffee and water or whatnot. So it's fascinating, and it's been kind of awesome to see how, you know, our last 4 years weren't just for nothing, and we actually got to get a lot from it.
I worked for an oil and gas company where they were all just, it was a mix of engineers from all different types of backgrounds.
Yeah.
And so I know exactly what you're talking about. Like I would see those documents, so many documents that would just have the equations of, and they worked specifically with like pollution and like how much pollution are we putting out in the air. So there's all these different weights of, you know, all the stuff they were having to do. But I would imagine, like I said, I could totally see how that would come in handy for something like this.
Yeah, definitely. And we're kind of like coffee nerds, and we like the science behind things. So it's cool to kind of see how all of that intermingles with each other.
So do you guys have like a coffee shop, or do y'all make coffee beans? What is it that y'all do?
So right now we have not a retail space. It's just a commercial space where we roast coffee. So it's not a shop yet. We do have plans down the road, like opening multiple shops is part of our like mission and part of our vision. But right now we just have a space where we roast, and then we will, we have an online presence where we can, you know, people can buy bags online. And then we are pretty focused on like the wholesale side of things, where there are a lot of coffee shops who don't roast. And so they'll have to buy beans from roasters like us. And so, wholesale is definitely one of our main things we're pushing into right now, as along with online retail.
Yeah, I would imagine so. I mean, I'm just in my head, all I'm thinking of is like world market, because there's like all these different types of coffees, and you can go in there, and I'm just sitting there going, that's where the stuff like that comes from, is like smaller companies that are roasting it the way that you guys do. Yeah. But y'all want to have a shop one day where y'all have like a actual.
Yeah, we actually like the very long-term vision for us is to like even open up shops overseas. Because like I said, our main goal is to like connect the world through coffee. And so, we would love to open up multiple shops here in, you know, America, but also go overseas and, do it in places where we can help people get like visas to go over there and work and whatnot. So that's like the long-term vision for Moravian.
So having just graduated from college not too long ago, did you guys have any experience before that, like running any type of business?
No, honestly, no. We really just threw ourselves into the fire, and like, we were like, now's a better time than ever. All three of us are single. We don't have families. We don't have like kids we have to like provide for at the time. It's just like us worrying about ourselves. So we were like, let's just throw ourselves into the fire. I think all of us were kind of like entrepreneurial minded, but none of us had really like started a business by ourselves or anything at the time. And I will say, like, this first year we've been doing this, I've probably learned as much as like my 4 years of college, you know, because it's just learning by experience. You just have to figure it out, or you drown.
Man, I'm telling you, like I'm an entrepreneur by spirit too. I started an estate sale company. I'm a real estate agent. I do this, like I've written a book. So there's all these different things. And like, I always admire other people that are able to do that also, because it takes a tremendous amount of courage, because there's a lot of risk. And a lot of times when people, there's only certain types of people that can really open a business and be okay with it, because it takes a very risk adverse personality to be able to jump in. But you're right. If you look at it from an attitude of what you learn, it's so rewarding, but it is very difficult from the day-to-day perspective.
Yeah. And I think that's why, like, picking partners that you trust and that like will push you to grow and do better, and you guys are like kind of working as a unit, is so important. Because I hear all these like horror stories of so many people even told us like, don't do business with friends, that's a bad idea, don't do it. But like, we've never had an issue with it, and I've honestly, it's definitely helped us, because I feel like our relationship, like, we're able to communicate openly with each other and call each other out when we need to, and that's really how you advance and grow as a company.
Yeah, and especially, you know, I mean, having done a lot of stuff by myself, I will say it can be really lonely, and I'm glad that you guys have each other,
Yeah.
because that matters. You know, like when you're sitting here by yourself in an office and you don't really have a partner, you know,
Yeah.
that can be tough. So
Yeah. And there's been moments where if it was just me doing this, like where we've had adversity or setbacks, like if it was just me, I probably would have given up, you know, because I'm like, this is too much for just me to figure out and handle. But since, you know, I have two partners that I can lean on, we were able to, you know, push through and figure it out.
sure. So when you guys first started, like, how did you even go about learning, like, where you get the bean and how you do, like, how did y'all even train yourselves to do all that? And how'd you
Yeah,
start?
it's been a process. Our philosophy the whole time was just to like start small and just continue to build up and up. So even while we were still in college, we started a like coffee catering company where we invested in an espresso machine, and we got a cart, and then we would just cater like different events, whether it was weddings, or we catered like a employee appreciation event at a hospital, or like a fall fair, just different things. And so that was kind of like a way for us to start small and really learn like kind of the ins and outs of coffee and business to an extent. Joel worked the past like 2 years of his college at coffee shops being a barista. So he learned, you know, everything he possibly could about espresso and, you know, coffee itself. And then the last year, all of last year, Trent and I were the ones who like do the actual coffee roasting. So Trent and I interned under a coffee roastery in Oklahoma City. So
Oh,
they're actually our good friends. Their name's Prelude Coffee Roasters, and we would go there once or twice a week and just roast under them, watch them. They would teach us how to roast coffee, and it was really hands-on and really good for us. That way, when we made the move down here to Grand Prairie, we were kind of able to hit the ground running. We didn't have to like spend all this time learning it brand new.
that is so cool. I love that you had the ability to be able to learn from somebody else that was already doing it. And
Yeah,
I love that partnership between like business owners where they're like, look, I'm going to help you. You know,
yeah.
let's just, yeah, I'll totally show you how to do it, you know?
Yeah, it's definitely like counter to like a lot of business people where it's like, oh, you're my competition. I can't, you know, give you anything. But like the amount of like information they gave us is like invaluable, and you know, we still talk to them every day, and it's great. So we're super thankful for those guys.
That is so cool. So what made you pick Grand Prairie of all places?
That's a good question. So yeah, we were up in Oklahoma, like I said, and we kind of knew that Dallas was the next step for us, because like I said, there's three of us doing coffee, but there's seven of us that actually moved down here from Oklahoma as kind of like a group of friends, kind of like a family. Two of those are like Joel's brother and sister, so we're all super close. And our last year at OU in Norman, we got connected with a church down here in downtown Dallas, where we started making like monthly trips down here, just to go there. We started making a lot of friends down here, and we kind of just knew that Dallas was the next step for us. We knew we didn't want to necessarily go back to Tulsa, Broken Arrow area. We kind of
Mm-hmm.
wanted to get out and kind of branch out. So last summer, I think it was in June or July. I think it was in July. We came down here and toured about like 15 places to look for like where we were gonna do our roastery. And honestly, once we got to Grand Prairie, this was the only place we toured in Grand Prairie. But once we got here, we just loved it. It reminded us so much of like Broken Arrow back where we grew up, kind of more
Yeah.
down to earth, more homey than like the downtown scene. Everyone we met was, you know, super polite, super nice and welcoming. And that's, you know, that's what we're used to, and that's what we love. So that our landlord here is just such an awesome guy. And like honestly, after talking to him for one day, we were like, this is the type of guy we want to like, you know, sign a lease with. We know he's not gonna do anything shady on us or that. And he's actually helped us out so much over the past year. But just all of that combined with kind of realizing like the coffee culture in Grand Prairie, like Grand Prairie is growing so much and so fast. It seems like the coffee culture is still like catching up to it compared to all the other suburbs in of the DFW area. And so just the thought of like being on the forefront of that was super exciting to us. And so that's kind of all the reasons why we picked Grand Prairie.
I'm going to give you a little bit of history on coffee history lesson of Grand Prairie, because I grew up in Grand Prairie.
Please do, yeah.
And do what?
I said, please do. Please give me this.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to tell you why we thought Grand Prairie was super cool back in the 90s, because we were all like teenagers back when Friends came on, right? So all of us watched drink coffee at Central Park. Well, then we got one called the Brass Bean, and we thought we had made it. And it was on the south side of town originally, and it was like where everybody worked, and we all just saw, and they had, you know, acoustic guitar players. I mean, it was just so 90s, everything about it. And but that was really the only place we had. And then they ended up selling it, and then they moved it over to the north side of town. Did I lose you?
Sorry, I got a call. I had to decline it.
Oh, that's okay. But they moved it over to the north side of town, and then their son ended up buying it, and he ran it for a little while. But then it closed down, and now there's really not anything that kind of took its place. I mean, there's space to go have coffee, and of course there's tons of restaurants where a lot of people go to have coffee, but it's just regular coffee out of a pot, you know? So you're totally right about that. And I think that that's definitely a space where people could, like, it broke my heart when Brass Bean closed, because that was just a thing. And I know y'all don't have a store yet, but it'll get there. But Grand Prairie is a great place for that. It's huge. It's right in between like DFW, so it's a great spot.
Yeah, we definitely are excited, and like obviously we want our first shop to be here in Grand Prairie. That would be ideal, but definitely I know, like, you know, you obviously know like Firehouse, right? And they have the little coffee shop in there, and we've got to meet Jason and Kirk there and kind of talk with them, and it's cool because Kirk's like the same, like he wants to be on that forefront of like coffee in Grand Prairie. So it's a cool little partnership that we have kind of made, and friendship we've made with him. So we're excited about all that.
Yeah, that's really awesome. I'm actually going over to the Main Street area later on this afternoon. I'm doing an interview with Cole Humphreys. I don't know if you've met him yet or not, for his podcast, but he so Firehouse is like right across the street, and that's a really good example of some different types of like newer restaurants and places that are coming in that Grand Prairie's not all the way used to yet, but we're getting there.
It's a good, like, it's going in a good direction though. Like
it is. So are y'all still doing the catering? Do y'all still have a truck? Are y'all still traveling and doing that too?
we still offer catering, and we still do it. We don't have a truck. We have like a cart that we'll like set up and you know, have like a table of, you know, our espresso machine and our coffee and whatnot. We still offer that. It's obviously not our main focus anymore, but it's still there, and it's still a, you know, great way to get our name out there and kind of connect with people. So so
I have a question. Do all the people in your office like constantly come over and tell y'all how great it smells inside of y'all's office?
You know, less than I was like expecting, or like, you know, I never knew. I feel like you can smell it when you walk into our suite, but outside of it, you don't necessarily smell it, because when coffee is actually being roasted, and I'll zoom over in that thing right there, that big thing, it actually doesn't smell like coffee until like a day after.
Really?
Yeah, because it's like, I guess the smell comes from like oxygen being released from the bean, and that doesn't happen immediately, and it takes, you know, 18 to 24 hours for that kind of effect to kick in. So it does smell like coffee in our office, but like when we're roasting, it's not emitting like coffee like smells. It really doesn't smell like anything.
So how many different, like, do y'all have, I guess, how many different types of coffee do y'all have? Or do y'all know? Like,
Yeah. Right now we technically have 3. We have a 4th one that we haven't like officially released, but we probably will whenever this Corona stuff is fully kicked out. But we wanted to bring on one at a time so that we were giving each coffee like it's enough attention so that we could get really good at roasting it. Because the thing about roasting is every single type of coffee will behave differently, and it's not just like a recipe where you put it in, you press a button, and it comes out good. It's a very methodical approach where you have to, make all these micro adjustments while it's being roasted, and you're reading graphs as it's going on to make sure that it's being adequately roasted. And so we wanted to bring on one coffee at a time to get really good at each one. And so we had one coffee for the month of December, and then we brought on another one in January, and then we brought on a 3rd one in February. And so then, everything kind of started happening. So we've kind of halted it at that, but we plan on bringing on a couple more here during the summertime.
So I have a couple questions, but one of them is about, this might make me sound stupid. Why do you have to roast coffee beans in order to, like, is that necessary?
Yeah. So let me show you what coffee looks like before it's roasted. So let me see. So this is actually what coffee looks like before it's roasted.
Oh my gosh,
it's like green.
It's green or something.
Yeah, and that's what it's called. It's called, let me get some in my hand. It's called green coffee because it's essentially like raw.
Wow.
Because the coffee bean itself, and it's way harder. And so like you couldn't throw this in a grinder and grind it up. It would break your grinder.
Really?
But, yeah. And so then, let me see if there's any coffee right here. And so then after it's roasted, it gets like the normal coffee that you're used to. And so you can tell the difference between non-roasted coffee versus roasted coffee.
That is so interesting. So
yeah.
How long does it take to get it to that process?
Typical, it'll depend on like the size of the batch that you're roasting, but it's going to be anywhere between like 9 and 13 minutes. So it's not a long process at all.
Oh.
Yeah. Because that roaster, we'll get it up to like 410 degrees, 420 degrees, and it'll only take, around 10 minutes for it to adequately roast.
Okay, so this is another question I was just thinking of, and again, I don't know how any of this process works. When you're at the store and you're buying coffee, and it's like, this is light coffee, this is dark coffee, this is strong coffee, like, what is the way that it's prepared that makes it like that? Is it longer, that it's roasted longer? Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so like a dark roast will basically just mean that the coffee was in the roaster longer and it's roasted longer. And so the thing about dark roasts is so each bean has its like specific characteristics, and it's going to have some good qualities, but it's also going to have some negative qualities about it. So the lighter you roast, you're going to get more of those unique good characteristics, but you're also more susceptible to getting the bad ones too. So it's like a fine line you have to walk. Whereas when you roast coffee darker, it matters less about the bean itself, because all coffee, the darker you roast, all coffee is going to kind of go towards the same direction and taste the same, where it's going to be that smokier, chocolatey, caramely like taste. So it's interesting because I don't know if you've ever heard of like third wave coffee and second wave coffee, or like specialty coffee, but specialty coffee. So I think Starbucks has kind of like warped a lot of people's views of coffee just because of how
What?
big they
That's
are.
so
And like,
amazing. Just kidding. That does not
you know,
surprise
it's like
me.
they're the authority in the coffee, like in the world for coffee. And so people think like that's the norm. And so Starbucks will typically roast on the darker side of things. And so a lot of people have actually never tried like lighter roasted coffee. And so like we have a coffee where it actually tastes fruity. And like in this specialty coffee world, fruitier coffee is like pretty normal. And a lot of people who have never like tried it are skeptical at first and kind of like, what? Like, why would I want my coffee to taste like blueberries? That's weird. But it is kind of like a different experience. And we really try to roast for every demographic. There's a lot of people who like will only roast light or will only roast dark, and they're really set in their ways. But like we want to make sure we have something to offer for every single type of coffee drinker.
So really, if you're wanting to try some type of flavored coffee and you're trying to pick out something, then a lighter roasted coffee is going to have more flavor to it, like different types of flavors than the darker roasted.
it'll have more unique characteristics. A lot of coffee companies and coffee bags will have like flavor notes on it. I'm sure you've seen those. And so your lighter roasts are going to have things that are more fruity, more florally or tea-like. And that's kind of a way I describe it to people who have never tried it. I'm like, think of it more like a tea than like a fruity flavored coffee.
Right. I can see that. So does all the bean, is it all the same type of bean? Like coffee bean?
Well, no. So like coffee, there's like a strip on, if you like took a strip around the globe, there's only like a certain strip around the equator that the climate is like good enough for coffee to be grown in. So that's why coffee, like you can't actually grow coffee in America. There's no like American grown coffee. And so,
Is that right?
some of the, like any coffee bean, it's probably roasted in America, but it's actually grown from a farm in probably like Brazil, South America, and Africa, and Indonesia are like the main ones. And so like I think Brazil is the main exporter of coffee in the world. And so we have like a Brazilian coffee, but we also have a coffee from Ethiopia. And then Ethiopia is known for having those fruitier coffees that do better when they're roasted a little bit lighter. It doesn't mean you have to, but that's just typically when they behave better. And we want to bring on the next coffee we want to bring on is from Guatemala. And so there's tons of different countries that have coffee farms where you can get it from.
That's so interesting. And I think that's a good point. Like there are some things that the United States will always have to import. And it sounds like coffee will be one of them.
Yeah, I know, until someone finds a way to like, genetically engineer it or something. But as of right now, you can't grow coffee in America, which is interesting because I feel like most people don't realize that.
I didn't. I mean, I knew that a lot of coffee came from other countries, but I didn't realize we couldn't grow it here.
Yeah. It's weird. It's fascinating for sure.
It is. So like, how did you guys, because y'all got hit with something pretty serious in this business, like right from the very beginning. How are y'all doing with all that?
I would say spirits are high. Like, we keep saying like, if we can make it through this, then we should be able to make it through anything. In our first year in business, this kind of happens, but I think we've done a good job of kind of staying positive and thinking optimistically about it. And because our wholesale side of things basically had to take a complete halt because, the coffee shops and churches and whatnot that we were selling to, they're completely shut down. So now they don't need to buy coffee. So we've really taken this time as an opportunity to do things that we probably would have said we were too busy to do beforehand. And kind of just work on like the small detailed things and at the same time really push online and push retail, because if that picks up and then all this comes back to normal, then when we add wholesale back onto that, we should be in a better place than before. So it's been cool. Joel's, like I said, he's the graphic design guy. He's been able to kind of really revamp and like add a bunch to what we have to offer marketing, branding wise. So we've really tried our best to like take this opportunity to do stuff we normally wouldn't do.
That's a great attitude. And I call it pivoting, which is kind of like, just
That's
the idea.
Funny.
Yeah, just the idea of figuring out like how to switch. And you don't have to do it permanently, but you do have to do it for a little while. And I talk a lot about training yourself and educating yourself, because right now what's it's so unique about what's going on right now that has never happened before is we're all in the same situation. And there's so many people that are trying to help wherever they can. And one of those ways has been educators, either like college educators or people that are offering online courses, or like all these courses that would have cost a lot of money that are free, like social marketing, social media marketing, and like all this stuff. And I've been trying to tell, and I've been trying to tell business owners, like, while you're not doing anything, at least make this time productive where you can learn something.
Yeah. Because it's so easy to just kind of be lazy and just like, oh, I'm just going to chill for today. But me and Joel were just talking yesterday, like investing in yourself is the best thing you can possibly invest in. And so we've really been trying to do that with information and, just the little things.
Yeah. And not just getting so down on yourself and being so, and I don't want to say negative, because we're all going through a little frustrated, but especially being an entrepreneur and a business owner, it's so important that you pop back up every day and just go, I need to figure out something new today. I need to figure out a new way, reach out to a podcast host, reach out and try to introduce yourself to business owners. And because what a great time to do that,
Yeah. We won't have as much free time as this, maybe ever. And so, it's funny that you said you like to call it pivoting, because that's like one of our favorite things to say is we'll just be like, well, gotta pivot. So we totally understand that.
Oh man, I mean, pivoting is so important. It's just so important. I actually did a course for realtors called How to Pivot Your Real Estate Business. And of course I use Friends because I'm a Friends fanatic, with the picture of them and, going up. But pivoting is, it's so easy. It's so important, but it's so hard sometimes for people to do, especially if you've had a business for a very long period of time, where you've done things the same way for that whole time.
For sure.
A little bit of a rut, to just kind of figure out new ways to do it. Albert and I were actually talking about that when I interviewed for him, because he was talking about how when he started his restaurant and they were going down this trajectory, and he was kind of stubborn to realize when he needed to move. And it took him a while. I don't know if you talked to him, but he's a really awesome guy.
No.
He started. You haven't?
No, we have. So we actually, what was that, 2 weeks ago now, we went and set up, like I said we did the catering stuff. We went and set that up outside of Beto's. He actually reached out to us and was like, hey, like this, I thought this would be a cool opportunity. We could, serve coffee to the policemen and the firefighters or whatnot. And so we did that, and we were probably out there for, 4 or 5 hours, and we just talked to him the whole time. And he's awesome. He actually gave us a lot of good advice, and you can tell he's a very driven guy, and he was extremely like motivational for us too.
And because he started that when he was so young. Like we talk about that a lot. Like we spent a whole, part of the podcast talking about how he was like, I was so young and I was so egotistical, and I just was so, I didn't know to have any humbleness. Like everything was just working and it was all fine. And, and I love that story.
It's funny for sure.
That day I reached out to him and I said, hey, I want to see if I could do a Zoom live, because I can do live on here. But it wasn't working, because I was like, I really wanted to just experiment and kind of do it, but it wouldn't work on my end. And I was like, maybe another time, but
classic.
I'm glad that you guys were able to do that. That's really nice. And plus it gets you to go meet with other people in the community.
Yeah, I mean, anything, we can do to get our name out right now is worth our time. It's more of a time investment than anything, and we have that right now, so.
Sure. So if people wanted to find out more about you guys, like where would they go?
So we have a website, www.moraviancoffee.com. That will have, all our information as far as catering, wholesale, if you have a company that you might want, coffee at, or buying retail bags online. We are also on Instagram and Facebook. If you just search Moravian Coffee, it'll be on there. And, we're trying to, like I said, we were talking to Kirk at Firehouse. I think here in the next few weeks, we're going to be on their menu to like some extent. We might not be the only coffee provider there, but we'll be on their menu to some extent, and hopefully slowly kind of have more of a presence there and in Grand Prairie. And the goal would be to be able to sell retail bags there or at other places, so we can actually send people to a physical location to buy our coffee.
So if people wanted to just buy a bag of coffee now, can they do that through you?
Yeah, they could go on our website and do it super easy. we've actually been running like a 20% off sale right now, just kind of till the end of, I think till this upcoming Tuesday. So if they wanted to go check that out and get a bag, we have 20% off right now. We currently roast every Tuesday. And so if you order coffee, it'll be roasted that next Tuesday and shipped on Tuesday, and you'll probably get it on Thursday.
Oh, that's awesome. That's good. That's awesome. Awesome. So before I go, have you guys had a chance to go try any other restaurants besides like Firehouse? Have y'all had a chance to go eat?
In Grand Prairie, I'm trying to think specifically in Grand Prairie. We ate at Beto's, which was awesome. Albert's great. Joel, is that pho place in Grand Prairie, or is okay? So we went to some pho place, but I guess it's technically in Arlington. And then, man, I'm trying. What recommendations do you have other than Firehouse?
So a lot of the restaurants that we're getting like on 161 and stuff, none of them are. We love them because they're all chain. Because we're like, yes, bring in some chains, like we want that. But we also we also have some that are not like that at all. So like, if you really want to go try some interesting places, like Main Street is where some of the oldest restaurants have been, like Theo's, Monterey's, Little Mexico.
Isn't there a big barbecue place there that everyone talks about?
Yes, so that place is actually Zavala's, and it is I don't even know if they have a restaurant or if they just sell barbecue. I think that they might just sell.
Oh, okay.
But they're crazy busy. But then you have to try Edelman's. That's on the golf course, because that's the barbecue place that's been around for forever. And but yeah, okay. There's a lot of places that if you really want to get a feel for like what Grand Prairie's all about, like some of those older restaurants are really cool. Like they're not trendy, but you walk in and they're older.
But the food's probably great.
Oh my gosh, of course, or else they wouldn't be going. And then, it's just like with any other, town, there's always the regulars that come in for breakfast, and then they come back for lunch, and then they go home, so.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a cool place. I'm glad that you guys are here. I think that what y'all are doing is really cool, and I'm really excited to see y'all's journey and how this all goes. So.
Yeah, we are too, and we're super excited. Just the direction Grand Prairie is going in, and like we said, the direction in coffee specifically, and we're excited to be a part of that.
Yeah. Well, one day soon we'll have to actually meet face to face.
Yeah.
Hopefully when all this is over.
Yeah, that'll be awesome.
Well, good. Well, Carson, thanks for being on today. I
appreciate it. Thanks for, reaching out and getting us on here. We really appreciate it too.
Sure. Tell everybody bye.
I will.
In the office. All right. Bye.
You have a good day. Bye.
You too.